Trans Talk 2024. This is the Trans Pavillons podcast show. Maybe podcast, maybe YouTube show. I don't know. We're doing this thing. And in this episode, we're talking about planning. I'm joined by Harold Zamt from Polar. Welcome, Harold.
Thanks, Zane. Good to be here.
Cool. And this is the conversation about planning. And Harold, it's such an important part of any race that you do, and it's something we mostly overlook. We only go into planning phase the week before. Like we'll enter and we'll book the accommodation to go to the race, but then we leave it. We know we need to get onto the bike and train, and we've had some past episodes about training, and we're going to talk more about training. But this is more about the planning side of it, and also training is part of that planning. But to get yourself geared up to be successful for this race. So let's talk about the team strategy. It's something that we need to discuss. And how does a team, what do you know, I always see teams create a WhatsApp group, they start talking to one another, and there's a lot of, it becomes a banter thing, and they don't strategize and they don't plan. The one topic we just discussed now is, you know, like I made the suggestion coming out of a adventure racing background, is that, you know, we have a meeting and saying, like, this guy's carrying that tool or that spare, and this guy's carrying that, so we distribute the weight evenly. Your thoughts on that, Harold?
Yeah, I think for me it's a little bit different. I think the basic tools should be carried by everybody. If you get separated for whatever reason, or you have a team member pulling out, you don't really want to be stuck without a multi-tool on the road somewhere. So I think the basic tools, as in your training, carry your basic tools with you. Don't rely on your mates too much, because you never know what might happen. So that's just me possibly planning ahead for different scenarios. There are certain things that you can obviously share out between team members, but then it requires communication. And that's one of the big things that we've seen teams come together over the years, different levels of riding and very minimal communication about who's feeling how and when. And then you get the inevitable debates and discussions and even arguments happening between team members. So I think selecting your team members, who's in your team is crucial. It's the other challenge, of course, is you are over 4 or 5 months out from the event. You know, you want to make sure you've got to take those team members all the way through. And the teamwork already starts way ahead, possibly in the training scenarios. You're training together, you're encouraging each other. You're not trying to ride each other into the ground all the time.
Not half-wheeling each other.
That's it, yeah. So I think that's the first part, is to make sure you select your team as who you want to ride with. Everyone gets an understanding of strengths and weaknesses. And then make sure you talk to each other. We were chatting last night about, in adventure racing, you're coming into a water point, you ask who needs what. I've seen all too often in the trans event where teams come into water points, and everyone's aimlessly wandering around, not sure what to do when. Whereas coming into a water point with a good plan, who needs what nutrition, and get that understanding in your training process already.
Yeah, and it's a good idea. It depends on whether you're a 2-man team, 3-man or 4-man team, but it's a good idea to almost allocate a certain role to a certain person. One person might be a bit more bicycle savvy. He goes, loops the change, check the bikes, check that they're okay, while the other person is filling the bottles.
Yep.
And it's just having that understanding between teammates. And like you said, that sort of conversation needs to happen a long time before, where and also reenacted in training and or strategized in training. And I think that is important conversations to be had all the way through, understanding what your role is in the team, because it's a team event, and asking the question is, I can contribute this because I feel quite strong in this specific topic. And that's what we would like to encourage riders to do, because it is a team event, and it's always, we are allowing a few solo riders this year for the first time ever. But there's a few things that they need to comply with. They have to have ridden 5 events to be able to get into the solo category, and we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a test run. Um, and yeah, so we'll see, but predominantly Transpavillons is still a team event.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to just come back to the whole team concept is when you're not feeling good, put your pride in your pocket and tell your teammates so that they don't ride up the road and you're continuously trying to keep up with them. Tell them you're not feeling good. It might last 10, 20 minutes and then you're back on track.
Yeah.
But at least your team will then understand what's going on. And it's not about riding away from each other or trying to ride each other, as the saying goes, into the ground, because it doesn't benefit the team in the long run. So talk to each other, say, I'm not feeling good, or I need an extra minute or two at this checkpoint, not to rush each other through it, although you want to minimize time at checkpoints as far as possible. But have an understanding, communicate that. And the hardest one is, I'm not feeling good. Can we just ease off a bit and take it easy?
Exactly.
I think that's crucial.
Yeah. All right. Setting yourself up for success. Part of that is the training element. I'm a rider. I've downloaded the training planner. It's up on the fridge. First week is starting this Monday. What now? What is the goal in your mind? What is the plan? What now? Is it just riding your bike, or what is the plan?
I think the crucial part in the first couple of weeks, maybe the first 3-week block, is to just establish, if you don't have it already, a routine. Which days are you going to ride on? You want to obviously try and target 5 days a week if possible. Might not all be riding. You might do some other sports, maybe a run, you fit in a run or some other activity, not always on the bike, but you want to have at least 5 to 6 sessions a week with one rest day. So to establish that routine, if you don't already have it, for most of us, our long ride is on a Sunday. We have a little bit more time. When is your rest day? You establish that routine, because that's the routine you're going to try and maintain through the rest of the 12 or 16-week planner, whichever one you've chosen. So that is the crucial part, and all the research in sports science shows how important frequency is. Consistency is king, as they say. And you want to try and be as consistent as possible. But if you're trying to be a hero in every training session, you're definitely not going to be consistent in the long run. So that is the crucial part, is get that frequency right. Make sure you understand when your rest day is. Take your rest day. Because in the initial part, you might say, I'm feeling great. I'm just going to carry on. I'll train on my rest day. There's a reason for that rest day. You want to recover, you want to recuperate so that you grow stronger in the recovery process to be able to train again. And then the next step is obviously from there, once you've got that consistency going, making sure you target the hours that you want to target per week, and then also making sure that the intensity levels for those sessions is at the right level.
Cool. And then what classically happens is you got derailed. So you started with great enthusiasm. You've done it for 3 weeks, hit the targets. Something happens in the other side of your life, or you get sick, or you're not getting the targets of the weekly planner, and you're getting demoralized, and you're not getting back onto your bike. It's maybe crappy winter weather or whatever it might be, but you're just not. So classically, what I've seen over the years with myself as well is you just don't get out again. How do you get back to that, and then what is the plan? Do you now try and play catch up, or do you just carry on with the training that you were set out to do?
Yeah, it obviously depends on how long that period is of, let's call it downtime or not being able to train. Typically, if it's no more than 7 days, let's say you've got a bit of flu and it's taking you a week to recover, that is not catastrophic. You can just pick up where you left off. Certainly don't play catch up, because that's not, you don't want to all of a sudden add 2 weeks on top of each other and try and play catch up in that regard. You just carry on as normal, as per plan. If it gets longer than that, maybe let's say 2 weeks or longer, then you might need to re-strategize and see. One of the most common mistakes made that I've seen over the years is being too ambitious in your training plan, to set the hours too high, putting it at 15 hours or even 20 hours as your maximum week, setting them too high and then not achieving that and becoming despondent. So again, the emphasis is be realistic when it comes to those training hours. Set it at 8 hours, 10 hours. I said sort of 10 hours would be, 10 to 12 would be the happy medium. Rather aim a little bit lower and then get it on target. But there do come the times where you just simply cannot avoid an interruption, and that is challenging because you need to then find out how long is the interruption for. I would say 2-3 weeks, that's quite a long interruption. Maybe you need to rethink things. If you maybe you even going into the event with slightly under-conditioned, which is also not a bad thing, but I would say 2 to 3 weeks gap out of training, that's maybe something where you might need to rethink whether you should be going to the event or not. But hopefully, if you've given yourself enough time, remember we said try and start a week or two earlier on the plan, giving you that scope to move around so you have a bit more time, you should be fine. But most of us generally we've come down with flu or something like that. It's about 5 to 7 days to recover. Allow yourself to recover, because there's no point in getting back into your training sick, because you just make things worse. It's hard for us because our egos want us to train, and we've got this event and our teammates are relying on us. So you've just got to make sure that the period is not too long, that you have to change the plan drastically, but certainly don't play catch up. Just carry on from where you left off.
And I'm sure we'll talk more about sort of the food and nutrition side, but in the planning phase of Transpaviance and the training leading up as well, it's important to play around with your nutrition and understanding what you need to eat and what the plan is between the team. We've got the menu, and we'll dive into that in the future, of food that's available, but it's also a critical planning thing is like what do you take with you? How much can you carry on your pockets? Because I've typically seen it in we want to just ride with our, if it's nice weather, with our cycling jersey and nothing else. And then where's your tools going? Where's your food going? Where's your compulsory gear going, your space blanket? Where's all of that going? And figuring that out in your training rides and planning, like how it's going to go.
Yeah, I think that's the important part, is make that part of your training process, to understand where you're going to put this nutrition, how much are you going to take with you, what is the requirement, and also not leave it to race day to test out the new gel or whatever you're going to use, the energy bar, the energy drink. Definitely don't leave that for race day. Try that out in training. You are going to have to invest on that side as well. But we know the quickest thing to derail anyone is an upset stomach on the race. Not getting your nutrition in, not keeping it down for various reasons. So the more you train that process, the better it'll be in the long run. It's part of the training process. But as you've already highlighted, is where do I put this food? In training, it's possibly all fair and well because you've got some extra pockets with you. But are you going to have those extra pockets on race day? Are you going to have a bag on your top tube to put your energy products into, that type of thing? So I think that planning process and simulating, especially on the long ride on the weekend, simulating what you're going to be carrying with you.
Yeah. And I think it's something that I've adopted to do with any type of sport I do, whether it's running or riding or paddling or whatever. I always keep a pocket in mind, and I keep that same pocket for everything. So during the race, so is to have a dustbin. And it sounds very simple, but so we're obviously riding through a nature reserve, and it's important to understand that littering is a big thing, and we understand that sometimes a wrapper comes out. But if you develop a little system and a little sort of pattern in your own mind of, that's where I take out the gel, that's where I take out the bar, that's where the rubbish goes, then you won't be digging back into that rubbish pocket to let it come out. And and especially I think on short distance things we do, it's not relevant. But as soon as you do a longer distance thing, you do develop a couple of wrappers during that period before you get to a checkpoint where you can empty out your pockets. And it classically happens to me is that I sometimes just don't empty out, and then I've got this big because I've got the little system. So it's figuring out those little things that work for you and that you're comfortable with, and almost packing every time the same way. So if your top tube bag is nutrition, tools is in the back, or whatever works for you, is like rehearsing almost that little sequence.
For sure, and the same goes with your spares and things like that, making sure your spare tube hasn't been in there for 3 years and now you want to take it out and use it and it's perished or whatever the case is. Those sort of things. It's really just the training process, making sure that you put things in the right place. Maybe you have some cargo bib pants, that the side pockets, for me at least, that's my rubbish bag.
Those are brilliant, yeah.
You just put all the rubbish in there and you get to the checkpoint and empty it out.
Yeah.
And having the gels in the same pocket and the bars in one pocket, I think that helps a lot, because and not making the mistake of throwing good gels or good bars away.
Exactly. Cool. Well, I think out of a planning point of view, we're trying to get the message across, and that you guys need to train and simulate these things and take the planning seriously leading up to the event. We'll talk more about training in the future episodes. I hope that was helpful and an insight for you. Give us your comments and give us some of your tips around planning in the comments below, and we'll highlight those and other riders could see what your tips are. Send us that memorabilia, send us the photos, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Harold.
Thanks, Zane.
Cheers, guys.